Good afternoon, everyone.
Can you hear me good
Well,
in my headphones?
yeah, okay,
Okay, good. Yeah, they're making like a weird sound, so I was like, all right, let me just make sure.
yeah, it's making a weird sound. It is.
It is.
Well, you're fading in and out. We'll work it out and see what happens. I'm looking for my notes. I should have been more prepared.
Guys, hi, Bastet. I see you in the chat.
So we're going to give it a few minutes. We're just going to, chit chat. Maybe my thing is in hot pie. Maybe it is. I hope my iPad doesn't go dead. Nothing too deep, but it's just like a regular. I mean, I'm sure you've been through this as a title holder, being put on the spot to answer questions.
Yes.
So I'm gonna pull my. I need to open my window. Give me
Oh,
1 minute. Okay.
Yeah, they're making too much weird noise in my ears. I gotta get them serviced.
Hmm, I hear you. So let me act like I have manners and say good afternoon to everybody. I'm gonna do a little housekeeping before we begin, and then we'll put your feet to the fire. As everybody knows, this is BLX. I am Sir Raven, owner, operator, one man team, a one woman team, a one sibling team of BLX. First, some housekeeping. I mentioned in a video that I was giving away supplies. I put a link in our bio. If you would like some art supplies, you can go to that link. Choose what set you want, one set while supplies last. Then DM me your address and I'll mail it off to you. I think it's important for us to take care of, as you know, the Artist Lounge is about mental health. We have switched it, or rather, I should say, I'm speaking in the royal we. I have switched it to art as activism. If anybody comes to the Artist Lounge, we will talk about activism and how art can be activism. I have some videos that show how art has been activism throughout the years. Today is December 1st, which is World AIDS Day, and art was used as activism with that as well. Reminder, next Sunday I will be discussing consent with Miss D from the Queen. So come and bring all of your questions. She's going to be discussing consent with me. Speaking of that house of Supreme, they do acts of kindness, and they are now looking for, I think, nominations or something, I guess, to nominate someone for an act of kindness in our community who is a sex worker, a BDSM educator, a leather educator, someone who adds value to our community. What they do is, I think they do like a gift basket, I'm not sure. And then there's some cash that they raise money for to make sure that our educators and those people who serve our community are taken care of as well. I was actually nominated, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Um, to give you a little update for what BLX is happening in the new year, and because I'm such a bitch, I'll just give you the tip of what's happening. In the new year, I hope to continue our leather and title holders and bootblack conversations. I have two in mind. One is a works for our city, and because civics is important, we'll be talking maybe about civics. Another one is kicking ass at their community, taking up space, and is a wonderful human being. And so that's happening. We're going to be hosting some movie nights where we have conversations and movies. Um, um, BLX is working on several workshops that are coming up, and that should be a lot of fun in 2025. I hope to see you all there and welcome your support. As usual, we do have a Patreon. You can go there and support us for $10 or $25 a month. Now with that, I'll stop talking. Today we're going to continue our conversation with Daijah Flames. I'm not going to read all of that bio, first of
You
all.
don't
I
have
was like,
to. It's
like
it's totally okay.
War and Peace. It's like, this is the longest bio ever. I was like laying down. But no, but you are the New York Northeast 2024's New York Northeast Boot Black title holder, right?
2025. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, I know.
And so when I even put it up, I was like, I think this is wrong. But you're a title holder, you're a boot black. Let's get it together, right? So go. Tell us all about yourself. Start from when you were first born. Not really, but
Oh my
tell us about your no. Kind of tell us like about your thinking behind coming into the community. Like, how did you come to the community? That's part one, and two, what was your thought process for running for a leather title?
Yeah. Ooh, my journey has been interesting. Um, so for those who actually don't know, I started out actually as a swinger. So yeah, so I joined that community. And I think there's a very, I want to say low barrier to entry for BIPOC folks to enter that community. Very easy to find spaces, and to kind of be accepted in those spaces. So, um, I think the level of liberation that I felt, um, definitely sparked me to want to learn more and to do more. Especially since, like, you know how they say, like, you go for the party but then you end up like staying for the food and the drinks and the conversation.
Mhm.
That's kind of how it ended up being. I was like, yeah, I love to do things with people, but there's something missing. Like, I'm really enjoying the family aspect, the community aspect. Like, I'm actually looking forward to going to see friends and people like that. um Fast forward Halloween, I went to a kink party for the first time. This was around 2022, that October. I went to a kink party, and then that just changed everything. I was like, oh wow, like there's people with leashes and they're like flogging each other, and there's a whole lot of, and they're having an absolutely great time, and no one's having sex. And I was like, this is crazy. And then again, that curiosity just keeps going and going and going. I eventually joined a bunch of like kink spaces, like virtually, in person, trying to get to know people, trying to build some sort of community. And then I hit a roadblock because I was like, I'm meeting a lot of people who are BIPOC. I'm meeting some people who are queer, but I'm not finding them the intersections of what I'm looking for, because I want to be around BIPOC queer people, or just exclusively sometimes queer people. Sometimes, like, I wanted more than just the separation of the spaces that I was existing in, especially since a lot of the spaces that was existing in were very, I want to say, heteronormative. And I didn't necessarily feel comfortable after a while as a queer person. Like, there's parts of me that were liberated, and other parts of me that's like, there could be more to this. And then I seen this advertisement one day. Somebody is in one of the kink groups that I'm in online, and goes, hey, Onyx Pearls is looking for new members. We're looking for people to join, blah blah blah. And I was like, that's it. That's the place I was looking for. I'm looking for female empowerment. It's the intersections between, I can be queer and I can be black and I can be a woman. I can be all these things in this really beautiful pot all together with some really amazing people. So I started pledging. When I
Mm.
started
When did, when,
pledging,
when did you wait a minute?
no, 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 go ahead.
Because I'm gonna cut you off. There's two things that popped into my head. One, so when you came from the swinger community, that was mostly heterosexual,
Mm-hmm.
which it is what it is. And then when you said that you came or found a kink event that you went to, you noticed that there was no sex, right? So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on like leather, kink, and BDSM,
Mm.
right? Like, you ran for a leather title, right? And so I know what leather is, right? What I was taught, how I feel, how I view leather, how I show up with my leather, and I'm just wondering how you show up with in your leather now. And then we can go back to the swingers if you like, or the pledging rather, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to know how do you, because I'm just trying to skip fast, but I do want to hear the rest of it, right? Because you went to the Pearls. And I also would like to preface that the Pearls um, do have a membership that is femme, but there are also butches there. There are also gender non-conforming people there. I just want to be very clear because a lot of times people are like, oh yes, it's the pearls and we're all femme. No, no, no,
Definitely
no.
not. Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm only saying that as a founding mother of your chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I would be remiss if I did not clear that up because some people may want to join and then not see themselves and then feel as if they're not welcome. Right. So I was in a meeting and someone said, oh, yeah, and the femmes and Oxford's about femmes. And I was like, I didn't feel welcome. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to put that out there in case someone is listening and they're thinking about joining the Pearls and they're not hearing what they need to hear, or they may not be curious enough to investigate on their own, right? Um, so, with that being said, you can tell me about how you show up in your leather, and then continue on with the Pearls.
Yeah. Ooh, how I show up in my leather. Um, it's very tied to my pledging process. Because I learned so much within the 6 months of pledging. So, just shout out to Azuli Supreme, who was my pledge master. I learned so much that I was like, other people got to know this stuff. Like, other people have to learn what I've learned. They have to see the world almost like in the way that like I've learned it now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like there's one way that we're taught about like what community looks like, what keeps community going, and it's actually the leather folk, like for real. They're the ones throwing the parties. They're the ones, you know, volunteering. They're the ones really, really putting things together in the background so folks can have fun. They can stay safe. They're doing the education. Not that kink folks are not doing that either, but I think the principles of what leather is really about like showing up in education. And once I learned that and once I had that education, I wanted to spread it. So that's how I show up in my leather, wanting to pass that information. I feel like knowledge is power, but also shouldn't be gatekept. So it's the same way like I approach my bootblacking. Like there's nothing that I wouldn't teach someone that I learned. Because the information anyway is online for free. So for me to like try to gatekeep something that's already not gatekept is just nasty. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
nasty work to be honest with you. But also I think sometimes like the way that my brain is, like I it took me a very long time to like accept this about myself, but I know that I'm neurodiverse, and sometimes my brain just like has all these little connections and things that are happening, and it's nice to put kind of the lego pieces together of like, oh, this is the texture, the item, the feeling, the smell, the this, the that, and this is what puts together this type of shine. Because you can't teach somebody in that in a YouTube video of texture, you know what I mean? But for me, and I meet someone and I'm like, oh yeah, you know how it feels like this, and then you put this amount of pressure and you do this, and oh, I could show you. Then people go, oh, this thing that I thought was unattainable and not possible is now possible. And I'm like, yeah, I was the same way because somebody didn't explain to me those little minute details that like I feel like most people just know inherently. And I'm just like, no, 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 I don't get it. You have to explain to me a little more. I do
Mm-hmm.
require that extra explanation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you joined the Pearls.
Mhm.
Izuli was your pledge
Yep.
master. How was that experience of pledging?
Life changing. I don't know. I mean, okay, so I've never pledged for like a sorority.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to in college, but that's here nor there. But being a part of a pledging process where you're around people who look like you and who truly care about your development is so special. Our pledging process was intense. We had class every week.
Mm-hmm.
We had homework. We would have to physically go places for assignments. We had to volunteer. But everything that I learned, I didn't realize would actually prepare me to be the person that I am. So, which obviously leads into like running for a title,
Mm-hmm.
like being able to know how to put together a bio, know how to research people. Like, I had to learn how to research my judges. I had to learn, how do I carry myself in community. I need to know about flagging. I need to know about what is a dynamic, what is an MS dynamic, like all those things that I learned maybe in the short term, in that 6 months, I was like, oh my god, this is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
information, until I actually hit the leather world running, and I was like, oh, I got this, I know this stuff, like I
Mm-hmm.
read these books.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it fast tracked my journey in some ways. That people, whoa, how do you know this information so quickly? And I'm like, I was doing homework for every week. Like I learned this stuff. Like
Yeah,
I have an amazing person who taught me everything.
yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so
Julie,
yeah, so
Julie will get you together and
oh,
get that.
100% got me together for sure.
And what
For sure. I
like,
came in a little baby nothing, not knowing nothing. Now I'm like, I know this stuff a little bit.
I think pledging also, if you are really serious about or interested in that kind of a thing, kind of prepares you, depending on your pledge master. I had a pledge master that was very like, prepares you that if you say you were leather, then you're going to prove that you're leather, right? So everybody talks, right? Everybody can talk, right? But leather is sometimes standing on principle and knowing that you may be the only one standing there. It may not be the most popular opinion. You may be standing alone. You may lose friends and all those kinds of things. But it is also about how you show up in your activism, right? And I'm leading to something. But a pledge master, a really good pledge master, will have you on your P's and Q's and hold you accountable to things that you say you're going to do,
100%.
right?
Hmm.
There's times to play and key, and then there's times that we're taking care of business, right? So I want to actually ask you, since you ran for the title and won, but I have other questions about that. What is like your platform? Because when I was coming up in leather, title holders had not only did they do education, and I did a whole video on this on the BLX YouTube page. Not only did they do education, they also did advocacy, right? And so, as I keep saying, today is World AIDS Day, Worldwide AIDS Day. So, what is like your kind of platform that you've been running on, or that you're running on for your title year and a half, or your title year?
Yeah. Um, I would say my platform is continuing to educate people about bootblacking, bootblack culture, bootblack history. So the reason why it's so simple, I feel like bootblacking kind of spreads into other areas. So like bootblacks, right? Like historically have mainly been people who were gender nonconforming, trans, BIPOC folks, femme identified folks, disabled folks. So I feel like it's a very small subset of people who usually are not looked highly upon in society, or usually are kind of like thrown to the side in society. But I feel like the more that we give appreciation and love and care to bootblacks, you'll find that it kind of spreads out into other communities. Like, oh, I never realized like that person who's like super quiet that I never talked to, they have a talent, but you see them for more than just their talent. You actually start to humanize that person because you actually got to learn who they are on a human to human level. Bootblacking for some people is a source of income when they're going through hard times and struggle. So if I could teach somebody a skill that they can go off and take and do at parties, events, etc., even help their own leather, they can therefore take that money, and now we have a way to like make a little bit of income. Like I understand there's a lot of like mutual aids, and people like times are tough. Like it's nice to be like, hey, listen, like even as you're collecting donations and doing different things, I'm gonna teach you a skill that you can use and make a little bit of it. So when you need to make that rent money, when you need to get like $100 real quick, now you know something that could help you. I think it's really easy just to hand somebody money, but there's something to teach them a skill. There's like a special saying of like, feed a man one time, blah blah blah, teach him how to cook. He'll be able to cook for a lifetime. It's that principle.
Stop.
I don't know the saying. You probably, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yes, it's teach a man to fish,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
and he
yeah.
will eat for a lifetime. Right? You give a man a fish, he'll eat for that day. You teach him to fish, he'll
Yep,
eat for a lifetime.
that one.
Yeah, yes. Let me
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
you a
yeah.
question. So, do you have any kind of, do you feel, or even let me ask, let me not even assume, are you aware of the, I'm a bit dramatic, so I'm going to use these kinds of words, right? Are you
Mhm.
aware of the legacy that shoe shine boys, who are actually men, contributed to like New York City, right? So I was talking to someone and I said, well, bootblacks, I believe, have a historical connection to. I grew up with black men shining shoes on 42nd Street
Mhm.
and in Penn Station. Like, so I would see that all the time. So I'm wondering, do you know of, or do you feel that you may have a connection to that kind of legacy of black people? I mean, you just say making money, right? So there's that, because we always got to make money.
Mhm.
But just that legacy of the difference between, not to say that they didn't have pride in their work, because I've seen that pride in their work,
Mhm.
but it's because it could have been because they couldn't get anything else. Whereas now we have a little bit more freedom, in quotes, in quotes, to maybe not have to do that for a living. Do you feel any kind of connection to something like that?
Yeah, there's definitely a big connection. I think one of my favorite connections when I was doing research just about like bootblacks and like shine boys
Mm-hmm.
was learning about Malcolm X, which very, very interesting historic character. I think what they taught us in school and who he truly was is like a completely different person. But he was actually a shoe shine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to think that a lot of it is, yes, like, need, like, you need to make extra money,
Mm-hmm.
but also thinking about from a bigger perspective, when you have the money to kind of like take care of yourself, you have more energy to therefore do activism.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to think that's those things kind of intertwine. Like, yes, I'm shining these shoes so I can like put a little extra food on the table, but also that's money to get a bus ticket so you can go to a rally. That's also so you can go and teach the word of, whatever word you need to teach,
Mm-hmm.
and etc. And, I ain't gonna spoil it for other people, but there were other forms of work that was done to help put food on the
Yeah.
table. So yeah, so again, like all of those communities and things intertwine when you are considered, like almost like lowly in society, when you're wanting to advocate, when you're wanting to be better. There's different intersections that you end up finding yourself in to uplift yourself and uplift community. And I like to think that bootblacks are kind of one of those people that, like, regardless if it's in the vanilla world or in like our world, like leather,
Mm-hmm.
BDSM, kink, like bootblacks, leather boys, shine boys, whatever you want to call them, are always somewhere in the mix, really trying to get things
Mm-hmm.
going.
Yeah.
um
I was
yeah.
telling I was saying, I think we were on a live, Liquid and I, and we were talking about boot blacks. So two things. Boot blacks don't just shine boots, right? They
Hmm.
take care of our community's leathers, right? Leather is a skin, right? And not only that, but boot blacks does not have a denotation of being a top or bottom. A boot black is just a boot black. That's all.
Yep. Yeah,
And
I'm like, no, yes, yes.
and sitting
Yeah.
in your chair is an opportunity to do advocacy as well, because just having a certain kind of conversation and exchanging information or knowledge that one may have in a really like an hour bootblacking or shine session um, can be beneficial. So I may not be able to use the information that we're talking about, right? But if I hear something, I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, I remember this thing, you know what I'm saying? So you can pass information along. And sitting in a chair is there's a time for. I was gonna lie. I was gonna say there's a time for sexy time and a time for not sexy time. Sitting in the boot black chair, but it's always sexy time. It's always
For me,
sexy
it
time,
is,
right?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I was like, I was about to lie, but no, I'm not. It is always sexy time. And so there's that. When someone is sitting in your chair, do you ever feel two things? Has there ever been anyone you did not want to boot black, to sit in your chair? And
Boop,
if
boop,
so, how
boop.
did you handle
The call
it?
disconnected. Sorry, go ahead.
and two, Oh no, that's and one. You made me forget the two, but that's the first one. See, you shouldn't have done that. I could have had a second one, but now I don't have one.
I'm sorry. My brain was like, okay. Mm-hmm.
And if not, I mean, if not, then it's just that. I mean, here's the thing. I know that sometimes I'm gonna not give you an out, but I'm gonna give you something to think about. I know that sometimes being in community means I may be in community with someone I disagree with. I may be in community with someone I don't particularly like, and they may not like me, and that is okay, right? I may be in community with people, we're in this world, right? And so I may be in community in that situation. Does that mean I'm going to be rude? No, I'm not. I ain't going to never do that. That's not the way my leather rolls, right? Am I going to be shady or bitchy or petty, or I'm not doing that, right? If I'm approached, hello, do whatever. I don't have to be up in the business, but we can still share the space.
Right.
So that's what I'll say about that. And now you can answer the question.
um So I'll start this. I don't have a principle where anyone is not allowed to sit for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that means any person of any skin color,
Mm-hmm.
any whatever can sit for me. And the reason why I do that is I don't want anyone to ever feel like, they never got to have that type of experience. Unless it's truly something I cannot handle,
Yeah.
I will make that known. But I
Mm-hmm.
just don't want to visually look at someone and ever say to them, oh, I don't do X or I don't do Y.
Mm-hmm.
And I wholeheartedly um accept people who feel that way, but I just don't want to get into those conversations of like gender and presentation and skin color and you look like this and that when we're human. We're humans at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who mainly sit for me, I would say gravitate to me because I specifically look either femme to them or because I'm black. I look friendly. I think that's the overall
You think
aesthetic.
so? You
No,
think you look friendly?
truly. I think I look friendly.
No, just
I
messing.
yeah, I think it's because I look friendly. People do come to me, so I do attract more, I want to say like femme presenting folk, more BIPOC folk. And I appreciate that because those are the folks who I would want to give service to. And then, and then it also plays into my like, I don't have a tipping structure because I want people to pay what they can. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. But are there times that people come to me that maybe I don't want to boot black for? The answer is yes and no. Mainly, I don't have that issue. There has been a time that a person was rude, not to me in particular, but to other people in the space.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not want to boot black for them, but I still did to kind of like keep the peace. And that's kind of not necessarily a huge regret, but more so, I wish I personally would have handled things a little better.
Mm-hmm.
But, experience is knowledge.
Yes.
You won't know something until you experience it. It was one of those things that just caught me off guard. And I was like, oh, I was not expecting this type of situation. Now I
Mm-hmm.
know how to handle it next time. But yeah, I've never like turned anyone away. I've been like, ew, no, like you're too drunk, you're too this. Most people are truly respectful. They're very nice. Um, I would say sometimes the regret comes after I boot black for them, not before, because people will like. I feel like they're humanizing me in the moment where we're chatting, we're getting to know each other, we're having all this good conversation, and then I've had at least one instance where someone just was like, "Oh yeah, I'll tip you later," and never did. And that's where the regret sets in because it's like, wow, because then it makes my brain go, did I do a good job? Is it me? Like, not necessarily them. And I'm like, well, I don't have a tipping structure. So even if you said, listen, I don't have no money, things are tight, I would have understood that. But to tell me that you were going to do something and not do it,
Mm-hmm.
I think hurt my feelings. And
Mm-hmm.
those are the regrets I feel,
Mm-hmm.
not the before.
Mm-hmm.
Usually people are very nice because they know they're gonna get a service. Like just like when you go to a hair salon, you know what I mean? Like people are like, oh yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm getting my hair done. But
Mm-hmm.
I would never think you would ever go to a nail salon or a hair dresser and be, or a barber, and be like, oh, actually, I left my money in the car and I'll be right back, and then just
Right.
never come back. Like,
Uh-huh.
you wouldn't do that to those service
Right.
workers. So why would you do it to
Yeah.
me? Is my service not good enough? So that's where the like regret, or like I wouldn't want to boot black for that person comes in. But the before, no.
Yeah. I think that sometimes we have to realize that there are assholes in every
Oh,
community.
absolutely.
And I asked that question, not really, I mean, I appreciate the answer, but I know at one time, and I get this, I really do, before, let me preface it to say this, I really do get it, that sometimes gay men may not want a woman, a person that presents as you to do their boots.
Hmm.
And, and that's prerogative. Like, that's okay, right? You know what I'm saying? Because you can find someone, hopefully, at the convention or wherever it is, the bar, wherever you're at,
Hmm.
to do your boots,
Right.
or if not, I know how to boot black, so I'll do my own boots. But yeah, I mean, I know that sometimes can happen, and there's
Hmm.
a thing, and I'm not faulting anything. I'm just saying people are like, well, no, I don't want, I love, me personally, FYI, I love to get my boots blacked and have girls rub their titties on my boots. Anyway, so let's move on. So, I know in your very long bio, and I'm teasing you yet again. We talked about your goals. We talked about what have you achieved since you've been a title holder. I mean,
Yeah.
what have you? I'm putting you on the spot, like, or are you still in the works of achieving and continuing to achieve?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing I'm thinking about is like doing more traveling locally. Um, when I first started in the community, I traveled a lot to other states. And I think it was really good that I did that because I got to learn a lot, meet a lot of people, build connections. And then coming back to, home,
Mm-hmm.
Northeast, New York, New Jersey, and
Mm-hmm.
being like, damn, like, what do I do with all this new knowledge that I got? And then I actually put that into community by like being able to like throw parties, do fundraisers, etc. So I do have a fundraiser coming up this week. I'm just giving myself a shout out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna be this Saturday. So that's one thing that I have been putting together and has been in the works for a while. So the fundraiser is actually to build a second community stand, and to keep them both housed. So that was the biggest thing that I wanted. The thing is, I could talk about bootblacking all day long.
Okay.
And then people go, oh my God, I want to do it now. But I don't have the spaces, or the spaces don't have the equipment. So, it's not good on your back and on your body to like have two people sitting in a chair that's same level.
Mm-hmm.
You need some sort of platform. So I've been fighting tooth and nail to get someone to build a stand for me, which I finally was able to do. We priced it out. I told them the colors, the setup, the vision. And they're currently, like, as we're speaking, like building the stand, which is really
Is it going to
wonderful.
be? Is it going to be collapsible?
It's gonna be collapsible. That was super important to me.
Okay.
Yep, yep. I was like, it's gotta be something that like could fit in a car or
Mm-hmm.
get on the subway.
Right.
It cannot
Mm-hmm.
be something that's big and bulky. There
Mm-hmm.
is already a community stand that is like big, bulky, is like a 2, 3 person job to move around.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great and it's beautiful if you need it for like a big community event, like a weekend kind of thing. But like a simple setup breakdown was something that I really, really was pushing for, and we finally have that not only in the works but like being built.
Right.
But obviously you want to pay people for their labor and for the supplies and stuff like that. So I want to make sure my folks get their coins for their
Mm-hmm.
hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll be accessible to anyone. I got a storage unit, so that will house the big stand, and then that will have also the second stand. So there'll be two community stands that, from New York to New Jersey to PA to Connecticut, I mean, whoever can, if you can come and get it and you can bring it back, you're more than welcome to use it. And then
That's good.
even
That's good.
right. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that also encourages others to want to build community stands. So that's the whole purpose, like going back to my platform, is being the advocate for bootblacks and showing other bootblacks like this is possible. Running for a title is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Being in community is possible. Building stands is possible. There's nothing that I do that I won't show you how I did it and how to do it, and just continuing to do that, because with or without this title, these are already things I had in the works. Just
Mm-hmm.
being a title holder, people listen a little more closely than they did before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
That
that's
was gonna be
the only difference.
that was going to be my next statement, rather, about being a title holder. Like, why run for a title? And I've said this a billion times. Folks know this. When you can continue doing the thing that you were doing before, right? And I always use myself as the example. I've never run for a title. I've been asked to run for a title several times, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Um, but I can still continue to do the work that I need to do. So I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask, like, what's the difference? Like, it's like a birthday. Well, maybe not for you, but for me, you go to sleep the day before your birthday and you wake up and you're still you. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
you may be a little bit older, hopefully a little bit wiser, but you're still you. And sometimes I wonder if two things. I wonder, and I want to get your. No, I'm not going to ask you. Knowing what, and if anybody would like to ask a question, and there is a title holder here that I wanted to. You can just ask the question in the little question. You'll see a little question mark. You can put your question in there, and I'll see it, and then I can answer it. I should have said that earlier. But I'm wondering about, like, titles and title holders, like, kind of what the purpose is.
Mm.
Like, okay, like, I know from the past, because I'm old enough to know, right? I
Mm.
know from the past it was like, yes, we do need this kind of a thing, but I'm
Mm.
wondering now in 2024, do we really need it?
Ooh.
I'm not asking you to answer. I'm just making a statement.
I mean, I kind of want
Okay, well,
to.
this is your show. Go ahead.
The I would say this. If you are, like people out there who are listening, if you're considering running for a title, already be doing stuff in community, like already have a really good idea of what you're already seeking in community, what you want before you run. The title is only going to give you clout. That is it. If
Hmm.
you ain't doing nothing before, you ain't gonna have nothing to do after. That's the truth. I will be so honest, my schedule was already pre-packed until 2025 before I ran for the title. So
Hmm.
now when I run for the title, it's Daijah Flames Northeast Boot Black, but I had to build who Daijah Flames was first. You understand what I'm saying? Like, now the things that I want to do, people actually send me money to do things,
Hmm.
versus I was just like, oh my God, everything I had to fund by myself. Now more people are like, oh my God, you're a title holder, you can come to this thing for free. And I'm like, oh, I get to network for free now. Or people be like, oh, you're a title holder, we're going to donate to your cause. And I'm like, wow, you want to donate to my cause? But I had to have a platform and causes first. If I showed up in community just as like, oh, I'm just a title holder. Well, again, what is your platform? Like, why are you running for a title? But yeah, that's super important. Know what you want in community first, then run for the title. But yeah, if you are just running just to run, there's no reason for titles. There's
And I
it.
think I think something that you said, and I appreciate you saying that, because I do. But there's something that you said that is like, oh, it's like, oh, because I've never run for a title, right? So I
Mhm.
wouldn't know this, right? You said, oh, now that you have a title, people are like, oh, you can come to this thing for free, or I'll donate to your cause. But I had this cause before the title. So is that saying something about the title, or is it saying something about our community?
It's saying something about our community.
Uh,
there
okay.
is there is definitely a level of validation that
Mm-hmm.
comes with having a title that, to be honest, I did not even expect when I was running for the title. I expected people to treat me almost the same. Maybe that's my own naivety. nativity. Yeah. Just being
Well,
like, oh,
Christmas is coming up.
yeah, I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, people are gonna treat me the same. Like nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
And then people were like, no, of course things change. Like you're a title holder now. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why? I'm still me. That like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm wearing the sash and being cute, but like this, you know what I mean?
Let me
In
just.
retrospect,
Do you
yeah.
wear that sash to the bodega to get a chopped cheese?
Even if I did, they're not giving it to me for free. You know what I mean? Like I
That's what
couldn't
I
walk
mean,
into like
right?
a, I can't walk into like Balenciaga and be like, hello, I am Northeast Boots Black. That will mean nothing to the regular degular world, like vanilla world, whatever. In the grand scheme of things, the sash, the title means absolutely nothing. It really doesn't. But for
Mm-hmm.
our community, when you have these things, now you're welcomed into this space, and you can judge a contest, you can do this, you could travel, we'll promote you. But I'm like, man, why weren't y'all doing this before?
Yeah.
It's like, why did I have to spend? I spent hundreds of dollars. Some people spend thousands of dollars. Some people spend tens of thousands of dollars for one
And,
title.
and then
Like,
it also depends on what title you run for,
oh,
right? So your
100%.
title is regional, right? Your title is not international.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So some people are spending, yes, tens of thousands of dollars
mm-hmm.
for a title.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting because I think that um, for me, even if I thought to run for it, but even the way I walk now, like I think you may know, I don't have a leather vest. I don't
Hmm.
have a lot of, I do Levi, right? And so sometimes people forget that it's leather Levi, right? It's not just leather, it's leather Levi. And also, I don't own, I mean, I think I have more things in leather that are like my whips and my floggers than I don't have
Hmm.
clothing. I mean, I have my chaps and my boots, but that's about it. And I've had those like 10 years, or over 10 years, right? I've never had this whole, and one thing that is, and the reason why, at least for myself, that I think I put my energies in other places is because I know, sorry, two things. Um, at one time, running for a title and being black was all, that's what I mean when I was like, oh yeah, we do need this, right? But now everybody's black. Um, I'm joking, but I'm not. Like, there are people of
Hmm.
color, which is getting there. This is fantastic. It's still, as it keeps going, and it is fantastic. I'm not knocking it. I love to see it, right? And so if you don't see something and then you see it, you're like, oh yeah, okay, fine, right? I right. I never wanted to run for a title because I'm an introvert and I don't want to people as much as peopling that you have to do. I can advocate for AIDS research and prep, and I can advocate and do those things on my own. I'm sometimes behind the scene. People think that may be me downplaying my importance, but no, I'm not. I could be very arrogant in your face, but I don't mind doing something in supporting community. I don't have to be
Hmm.
out there with the blitz and the glam. That's one thing. And two, the reason why I have a denim jacket is because I'm Levi, but it's also because some folks can't afford leather. My chaps cost me almost $1,000
Oof.
for a pair of pants. You know what I'm saying? Like some folks just cannot afford. So they don't have the luxury of that. So
Right.
what do you do, right? And so that's why I think that it's important that one has a foundation of leather, right, and know
Hmm.
that history of leather, but then to be able to stand on your own foundation of what your leather
Right.
is, right? So at Pearls, I was the only one with a denim jacket. Everybody else had leather. I was the only one. And sometimes people would ask me, well, why don't you have a leather? Why? Like I can stand on my denim.
Correct.
I can stand, my vest is my vest, right? Leather doesn't make me, right? I make leather, right? So me putting on this thing doesn't make me. And I think, so when you say that, I agree. I never thought of it that, oh, now you have a title, so certain doors open up for you. That is saying something about our community. Um,
It does.
and I may have to give this some thought. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I think somebody's talking. for
Oh,
the funny
those
thing is be getting sponsored for the runs.
Yeah, sponsorship is real. Also, I wasn't sponsored. Listen, everything I did came out of my pocket. Okay, I spent a lot of money. Well, actually, like that's why I said I spent hundreds of dollars and not thousands of dollars because I won my contest wearing lace. I wore other fabrics. I wore mainly pleather. Like some people were
Oh my
like, "Oh my
God.
God, you was in full cow." I was like, "Ooh, it looked like cow, don't it? It looked like it, don't it?" No, that was pleather, baby. That was pleather. I'm a pleather girly. You listen, I could make some pleather look like leather.
Okay. Okay. And also, okay. And also, sometimes you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on, well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but also if you have access to people that can give you information, that is worth a whole lot more than buying
That's
a
that's
leather.
another thing.
Don't get me
Ooh,
wrong. Nice. Go ahead.
title
Go.
holders help other title holders. I'ma just that's another thing.
That's nice.
That's another thing. Once you hit a certain point in community, you will notice that now people are starting to give you information that you didn't even know existed.
Oh.
And that's yeah. That's another thing that comes with title holding. Again, that I did not know because you would not know until you actually earn a title. That
Right.
now people, oh, I bought my leather from blah blah blah. And I'm, why didn't you tell me that before? Or oh, I got my title pins made by blah blah blah. And I'm like, you could have told me this earlier. And people are like, oh, well, title holders help title holders. And I'm like, wow. So it's like once you hit this certain point in community, information is now given to you that you did not know. So that could be another reason that people run for titles because they want access to certain vendors, certain sponsorships, certain brands, certain companies that they didn't have access to before.
This is
To be,
interesting.
yeah.
Again, now I have some more stuff. Ugh. Because, and maybe it's, again, it's me. It's not you, right? um, that when I was coming up, people who ran for titles, it was within the community, right? So it would be a New York Northeast title holder, right? And everybody from New York Northeast would support each other in that way, right? So, and this I think also has something to do with the internet, but because so that's why I'm thinking because you had to build your community, be within your community, have the support of your community, and it wasn't like your community from Finland and Amsterdam and London. It was your community that was here in the New York Northeast, right? So we drove to other places to go and see things. And so I think that's interesting that you're saying you're getting information, like this information is opening up to you now that you're a title holder.
Right.
Whereas I think before information was just a lot more.
Hush hush.
No, I think it was more that we had to help each other. Like
Mm,
we had to help, right?
that
Now
makes
people
sense.
like go look on the internet, go look at Google. Like Google's not going to find you everything. Sometimes you need that human connection, and I think back then we helped each other in a certain way. Um, and so there's also that. Wow. Um, you did say that you want to, and I believe, create spaces that are safe spaces, which I don't believe in, but we can talk about it. I
Safer
don't believe in safe spaces.
spaces.
I
Safer.
don't believe in safe
Safer.
spaces. Oh, safe. Okay. Okay. Because
Hmm.
explain to me what you mean by that, and and how is that going? What is your goal? You know, your goal in doing that.
um,
Hey, what
I
spaces are you talking about? Are you talking about the swinger spaces?
no, I think when we talk about like safer spaces, or at least the spaces that I'm trying to curate, um, it is spaces that are friendly to more boot blacks. And like I said, boot blacks are those very specific categories, notoriously, that
Mm-hmm.
people will look down upon. They don't humanize, they don't try to connect with until they do service for you. Now you've humanized this person. Now you see them as someone that you're willing to communicate with or be in community with. Or care for in any way, shape, or form because you see that they have a purpose. So those are the spaces. And that brings me to one thing that I did want to mention too for why I ran for the title. Um, Boot Black community is very special. It is it is it is just this very, 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 very wholesome part of leather community. There are a couple of a-holes. I will be honest about that. There are a couple of a-hole boot blacks and they know who they are. But for the most part, like everybody is so nice and so open. Oh, absolutely. They are absolutely the therapists of
Yeah, I
the
was
community.
gonna, yeah.
I would say they are all and not one thing. I think when anyone's just like, "Oh, boot blacks are the barbers," I'm like, "Cut that out. Cut that out. They're not the barbers. Cut that out." Like they are the therapists and the barbers and they are not just exclusive to just one thing. But I think because boot blacks are already doing that very like old school style of leather that you were talking about, where it's like we travel together, we eat together, we do things together, because boot blacks are so already like that, when it came time to run for a title specifically for boot blacks, I was like, yeah, that's what I want. I want a title that's regional, that's specifically for boot blacks, that I can also help encourage more boot blacks locally, but also my friends, the people who I have either watched them come up or they've been in community for a long time. I could be like, you see what I did? We can all do this. And then we can now all travel together. Now we can all support each other. Oh, I'm a title holder. Well, guess what? My friend is too. And my friend over here is too. Or, oh, this person's also a really amazing boot black. So it's taking that, oh, you see Deja? Oh, you see this? Yeah, I got a couple other people behind me who could also come along with me now. So it's not just using that title for self, but I use that title so other people can come and get kind of like the blessings of what the title gives me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like if I let's say I get sponsored, right? Like so and so company wants to give me 50 bottles of product. I'm like, great. I know a whole bunch of people who could use this.
Like, yes.
um so it's like, like really just take it like, yes, like on the face level it gives clout, but then I can take that clout and go, great, now that I've gotten in, we all gotten in,
Oh, okay.
because I'm
If,
trying to bring
if
along all my boot
you're,
black people with
you're,
me.
your people with you, we have a question. The question is,
Hmm.
do you think people forget about boot blacks because people don't necessarily have leather anymore, aside from Doc Martens?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think it goes back to what I said, that boot blacks are usually people in community that we either look down upon or we
Who is this
ignore
we
for the most part.
that you keep speaking of?
We
Who is this
as in
we?
like
I'm gonna
I'm saying
fight
general
them.
general world, general the general world at that be, not you, not me, not the
I'm just like,
lovely people on the live. Um, but
so
yeah, just
has that been your experience? I mean, you
yes.
mentioned it twice. So if a person mentions something twice, is has that been your experience that people look down at? I mean, and
Autumn said, like, what's this wee? Yeah, the
this for
French.
French, that people have looked down on you because is it because you're a boot black or is it because of something else?
I think it's I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. I
Okay.
can say this. I've gone to some spaces that I am not in service. I'm just attending,
Uh-huh.
and I am not even treated like a human in those spaces. Like people will literally physically walk past me, bump me. I'm in a play space about to do a scene. They're trying to come into the space where I'm doing my scene. And I'm like, you don't see me doing something here, kind of thing. But then once they see I'm like boot blacking, or once they see me being of service, oh, what's your name? Who are you? Now you're like trying to get to know me. And I'm like, huh, this is interesting because it's usually the same people. And I'm like, oh, now you want to know who I am because now I got something that you want, or I have something that you desire to learn for yourself, or I could do something maybe that you can't, or you're seeing
Mhm.
something that you've never seen before. Now
Mhm.
you're interested. Ooh,
Yeah.
what's that? Ooh, who are you?
Mhm.
Ah, but you didn't see my humanism before when you had bumped me, when you
Mhm.
walked past me when I was in the line for the bathroom, whatever the
Mhm.
case is. And that experience has happened to me so much in leather that it speaks to something. It speaks to something. That's why I said we, because I'm like, it's not like one particular face that I could put to it,
Mhm.
but there is just a lot of people who don't see my humanity and don't see the humanity of the people who I consider like friends and close family, especially people who are bootblacks. And I'm like, there's a common denominator here, and I
Well,
think the common, yeah.
also let me ask this question because and I'm wondering because I was in a situation where people were oblivious to the fact that they invaded the space I was in and did some other things, right? And I was like my sense of community and how I was raised, not only in my family by blood, but my family through leather. I was raised a certain way, right? Like, but I've noticed that there are some that are just oblivious to the space that they're in. So they will come and invade the space and not ask, they will do certain things, and
Mhm.
I'm not going to say what I think it is, although I want to, um, because
Mhm.
it just doesn't happen to that age group. That is not just that age group that does that, where they are just oblivious and insular and so into their shit that they don't see anybody else's shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not just an age group. So I don't want to just
Definitely,
put it on that. I
definitely
don't want
not
to.
just the age group.
Yeah.
It's definitely not one age group.
Right.
It's definitely not one gender. It's
Right.
definitely not one
Exactly. But I
anything.
mean, if you're saying that you're seeing it more, like more. I mean, I've always seen it, right? But
Mhm.
I'm older than you, so I've seen it longer than you, right? But if you're saying now you're seeing it more, then I'm wondering what's going on that folks are not able to see you as a human being, as a person, right? But when you're boot blacking now, all of a sudden your thing, I think it is because they can get something from you. I think it is that there's this, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's just because now, even if you didn't have the title, the fact that you might have just been doing boot blacking, right? Now they can get something from you. You know what I'm saying? And try to lowball you on that too, not pay. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it is. I think it is a y'all thing, a we thing.
See, okay, now we both speak in French.
Now, but no, I'm understanding. I had to just tease it apart. Like I was like, oh yeah, I think it's that, but I also think it's some other things that's happening as well.
Hmm.
Quid pro pro. Yes, it is. I think. Oh my gosh, our time is almost running out. Let me answer. We've talked about so much stuff. I think we answered all of the questions. Um, do you have a particular do it. Do you have a particular book that you would recommend to someone? It doesn't have to be a boot black book, just a regular, any old kind of book. Would you like to give a book recommendation? And you're the first time I'm doing this to you. I didn't do it to the others. I'll remember to do it to the
Yeah.
others.
So I'll be honest, I'm not a book person. Something about sitting down with a book, if it's not like super interesting, will just bore me, and then I put it down. I am very much an audiobook girl, for sure.
Okay, well, a book is a
Love a
book.
good
It's a book.
audiobook.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, when people ask me like for a book, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to pick a book. I will
What
say
about
the
a pod?
last.
What
I
about
would
a
say the.
podcast? As long as it's not a black man's
Ooh,
podcast. What about a podcast?
I would have to give bit. Well, okay. There's two different. I'm trying to give one because my brain is like, which one do you want to
Give all
choose?
of them. Give all of them.
Okay, I'll give two. So I would say the two podcasts that really like changed my life. The first one was Me Mommy
The
podcast
Me and Mommy
because
podcast.
because it really because I could talk about this forever, but I think when we explore what gender roles, etc., looks like, we kind of put people into this one box. Like, oh, mommies are
Mm-hmm.
sweet, nice, this, that, femme, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be a butch and a mean mommy.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And I love that we all get to like play with these like set roles, and just kind of do what the fuck we want. And I just, ugh, I love it. Second podcast that I would really recommend is Pup's podcast. I've been featured on it. I talked about bootblacking. Two really amazing people, so Bootblack Allen and Pup Locrian, do a podcast on it. And Pup Locrian is huge on TikTok. So I would highly recommend both of them for sure.
The bad mommy. Okay. I am so happy we had this time together. I would love to. Well, I'm going to hopefully at some point try to get all of the title holders together and just do some deep dive into some really deep questions.
Mhm.
I like asking some deep questions or hard questions that people are like, "Why are you grilling that person?" I'm going to know the answer. I'd like to do that. Like I said, in the new year, we're going to continue. At least, and here I go talking French. I'm going to continue having title holders on to have conversations. If anybody wants to recommend a title holder, this is BLX, that's Black Latin Explorer. Just give a suggestion, I'm open to it. But this has been a lot of fun. I know only reason why I'm getting off is I love talking with you, but I need
Oh
to
wow, Thailand. Mhm.
get my self because Imzel is having a
Town
a
hall.
boot black
Yep.
town hall. I think at 4 o'clock. So I need
Mhm.
to, I need to get my shit together, and so I can enjoy that as well. Thank you so very much for talking with me. This has been fun. Was
Yes.
it good for you?
Oh, absolutely. I love talking to you.
Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it again. Let me
Oh my
see
God,
this.
I didn't know it does that. Wait, that's
Oh
so cute.
yes, it does. Yeah, if you do the thing, and if you do it up, it's gonna be the big. If you do it up, we learned that last time on the live. But thank you, everybody. Wait a minute. Thank you tuning in from Thailand. Oh my gosh. Hello, and thank you for your suggestions. And I didn't know people. Well, I'm not a title holder, so I've learned a lot from the chat and from Deja. I appreciate it, everyone. Again, next Sunday, it's all about consent, baby. It should be interesting. Deja, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Everybody else, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Really appreciate you. Until next time, peace, power. Bye.
Right, thank you.
Yep.